Hello, fans, and welcome to another edition of Enough Talk, the L5R video podcast. I am the man who in 2011 called his congressman and urged him to vote yes on the bill declaring pizza a vegetable, Jesse Grabowski. And I am joined by the president of the Josh Whedon Super Fan Club, the man who flew all the way to London to see the Avengers 1 week early, Paul Ashman. Paul, how you doing, buddy?
If you insist on bringing up he who must not be named, I'm not sure I can continue in good consciousness to do these videos. I mean, I want to do them. I enjoy playing L5R, but the more you know what? Screw it. I hereby announce my undying love for Joss Whedon. Maybe if I sort of reverse psychology it, people will stop mentioning it. I'll just be like, oh, I love him so much. He's the greatest. His run on Runaways is clearly better than anything Brian K. Vaughan ever did, and Dollhouse was an underrated show, and absolutely he didn't. Yeah, so there you go. Stop bugging me, people.
So there's some inside baseball stuff here, but there are off limits subjects for our intros. There are things we don't talk about. There's one we don't talk about it. But Josh Whedon is not that, so I don't need to. I don't need to hear about you getting all salty just because I brought up your love of Josh Whedon.
No, it's. I am a huge fan. I have my dream is to sort of meet him and Neil Gaiman all on one day, and then maybe punch them both in the face. But still, meeting them both in the same day sure would be convenient.
True that. Now, did you feel that the Angel spinoff sufficiently expanded the Buffyverse in a way that was interesting and meaningful, or did you sort of feel like it was a cash grab after season 4 and 5 that really started to push into the mainstream?
Obviously, the first 4 seasons of Angel are more or less unwatchably bad. I mean, okay, we bring Darla back from the dead, and Darla's a fun character, but you get into the pregnancy nonsense and so forth. But everybody loves season 5 of Angel, right? Because it's the sort of good guys trying to work within the corrupt power structure and affect change from the inside, but maybe they're being corrupted from the inside, but no, they're using it to determine who the real high-level muckety-mucks are and who to properly attack. I mean, there's some really great stuff, right? Plus, everybody loves the submarine episode, and Angel as a puppet. I mean, who doesn't love Angel as a puppet? Me! That's who! I don't love Angel as a puppet.
You did love the singing Buffy episode, though. A magic dancing demon?
I got a feeling. That's right. It's a demon.
All right.
Yep.
So if you love Joss Whedon, don't
watch our podcast, if my heart could beat, it would break my chest. That line of dialogue doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even fit into the overarching song structure. Like, what is it doing there? Overly flowery poet. He's as terrible a songwriter as he is an otherwise show person.
Now, I will say this. So Joss Whedon changed sort of the way that the movies, like the whole Marvel movie was completely influeed by Joss Whedon. The Buffy-ish dialogue. There's a word for it, like Buffyisms or something.
Annoyance?
No, like when they'll say like
the way that people never actually talk.
Yeah, exactly. But in Guardians of the Galaxy, they wrote Joss Whedon style dialogue better than Joss Whedon. That always made me happy.
I really thought I did really like Drax the Destroyer's sort of literal interpretation of all sort of conversation. I thought that was really good, but I don't know. Zoe Saldana. I mean, I guess she's nice to look at even in.
I saw it in China.
That's not my interpretation of the character. That's all I'm saying.
I saw it in China, and the scene everybody loves where he says like nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are much too fast. Nobody got it because the translation wasn't funny in Chinese. So like I was extra laughing because it was this like meta thing where like he says the jokes don't go over his head, and then the joke went over everybody's head in China. I was like, ha, that's funny.
Did they appreciate the I need the wooden leg thing? I think that's always
That was a good gag. Everyone liked that. The whole Kevin Bacon thing went over like a Led Zeppelin. No one knew who Kevin Bacon was. No one got it. The stick up your ass thing.
How about Howard the Duck? Everybody knows. I mean, were the people in China as excited for when Disney bought Marvel because they knew that might eventually mean the awesome, or when Disney bought the George Lucas stuff, like that meant that we might actually see the reboot of the Howard the Duck movie franchise. I know I'm waiting for it.
I'm hoping they bring Lucas back. I'm hoping that he directs.
That'd be something.
All right.
Howard the Duck the movie. How did it fail? Because it was impossible for it to ever succeed.
So let's play L5R. So this is our movie podcast. If you're looking for L5R, we've trolled you by showing you some cards and then talking about Howard the Duck for 20 minutes.
Hey, you started it, man.
All right, well.
We could have just talked about pizza.
All right.
I was there.
What are you playing, Paul?
Okay, this is, I'm throwing this back because on the last video, which was Ray Sensei, more or less just got zoned. I believe that's the hip internet phrasing people still use. I'm not at all antiquated. Don't write me letters. Or do write me letters because I'm not on Facebook or Twitter, so that might be the only way to communicate with me. Ha! So it's a bunch of big dumb idiots. So it's, Sujekin Sensei increases my starting gold. I use my starting gold to buy big gold here off like JPI's, Productive Minds, cloth markets. I get a bunch of gold, and then I buy big high force personalities, which for this start is actually like 5 force guys, but then 6, and then we've got some 7s and that sort of thing. And then I get a big guy, and I strap a big item to him, and I attack you, and I hope you sort of crumple into dust because look at how big and manly I am, or orderly, or nagai, I guess is the case maybe. So we've done a deck tech before, but I'll run through it really quickly again. So Sensei is really important to get your holdings here. Productive Mind with the one. You really want to spend 5 gold on turn 1 if you can, and there's sort of been a mathematical breakdown on that. You got your 3 non-uniques, and then you got your slew of your big fatty uniques. This is clearly an arc deck. So that's Coils of Madness through to the new order. And it's not a deck that'll probably be translatable to Strict unless they start sort of changing the way they design the new unique cards and make a bunch more unique cards. But the idea of put out a big dude and attach one of these high-priced weapons. We've got the bow, Raiden, and Demolisher. The Demolisher is really the card I was excited about that sort of sent me down this path. I really wanted to explore Demolisher decks. So you get a big guy, you give him a big thing, and you go to town with it. On the Fate side, you've got sort of nominal support cards. This is a new one. This is your Force Penalty answer. It's got Discipline as a discipline summon. Brazen Disregard, and there's another anti-Symptom one in here somewhere that moves you back in. And then we got Lost in Translate. That's my other move back in. Way of the Crab, Anti-Bio Force. Strength of the Bear, one of my few proactive battle actions. Planted Evidence and Unsettling Gathering because they're really good cards and I like them. The rings because they're the rings, and create an order. And I'm pretty happy with all of this. The only couple of changes, there's some powerful cards in Arc that I'm not playing, stuff like Victory Through Deference, right? But this is a play testing experience. I want to test out some of the overarching strategies and see how it feels. So some considerations were made. The Brazen Disregard and the Thrill of Daring, these cards might not actually be good enough. I might be overvaluing Discipline because our games maybe are decided before those sorts of, turn 5 effects turn on matter. But we'll see.
Cool. Now, in Arc, as it's structured now, like how big is a big guy in your mind, and how big does a singular personality need to be before you can sort of say, I don't care about what you're doing over there?
Right, so 6 force is abnormally big. So 6 plus a weapon gets you to 9. That's generally going to take a province. So 6 plus is where you want to be. But obviously there's only so many of those personalities legal, so I've sort of altered it down and included 5 force guys this big. It's worth mentioning that the Demolisher is not a weapon. It's just an item. So the hope is that if you're doing like the 5 force Conqueror guy, you're going to give him both, the bow plus the Demolisher. That gets you to 11. That's suitably big. Those guys are a bit more filler though, and maybe it'd be better to fill with cheap personalities. That's always a trick when you want to have a deck built around a couple of big guys. Try to get to the minimum number of big guys and then just fill it out with cheap disposable guys who can defend. But I don't really have any good defensive prowess, so I want every guy I buy to be a bit larger and have a bit more impact.
Sure. And my last question is, do you remember Kuni Renu Experienced? Because man, every time I read XP2, I do.
Not only do I remember him, he sort of gives players nightmares. Like that +1 province strength stuff was tilting. Like that was tilting. And then they had like the hold in, and they're like, oh, by the way, my province strength is actually 11. You're like, what? And it's just very tilting card.
I know on my side. So this is not one of my decks, although I do like this deck quite a lot. This is a deck by a man named Eric George. He's a pretty prolific commentator over on Enough Talk by the name of Luke Redan. And he sent me this list because he thought it was a cool deck that he's been playing. He likes it a lot, and I like it a lot, so I wanted to play it. And I want to start by saying that it's really good to play other people's decks sometime because you get out of your own ruts. And if you've been watching all of our videos and you've been consuming all of our content, you'll know that I've been stuck in a bit of a Shugenja rut. But even bigger than that, I've been stuck in this like play the rings and long-term fruition and Shrine to Hachiman straightening my strength of the fifth ring type decks. And it can be tough to get away from that sometimes because when you start building a deck and you're looking at an empty sheet of paper or an empty Egg of Panku file, and you think to yourself, like, what the heck am I going to put in this thing? It's like, well, how about 3 long-term fruition and wisdom gained and ring of void, water, earth. So you take somebody else's deck, you see what they're doing, you try to get some ideas. So this is going to be good for me. Because this deck also, it plays some stuff that I think is really cool. We're playing Shibata Sensei military deck, but we're not really doing a ton with Shibata Sensei. He's just here as straight advantage. He doesn't do anything bad for us. He just helps us out. We're running a couple courtiers, plus traditionalists, so maybe we can bow their courtiers to do some stuff if they end up having any, but maybe not. Gold structure.
I do have at least one. I've got my draw card courtier here. Check that out.
That's right. So if she comes out, we're gonna bow her and we're gonna feel like champions. We got some sneakiness. We're playing It Was a Cat with some discard effects to try to like get his guys in his provinces with Saigo and with Aberrations and Madden Horde. But otherwise, it's just an efficient guys. We got a bunch of 4 gold, like 7 and 8 gold for 4/4s with battle ability guys. Like these Bayushi guys are really solid, and I think that this is a deck that has been around for a while that has underperformed a little bit in my mind. That I think maybe, like given the strength of these cards, like it hasn't ever really lived up to what it looks like on paper, and I'm not sure what the reason for that is. Do you have any thoughts, Paul?
Well, I think there's some interesting things. So I like that he's going Shibata Sensei, but not being overly aggressive on it. There's a tendency sometimes, like, well, I'm playing Shibata Sensei, I better put in, 3 Imperial Summons and 3 the Legion's Might and these kinds of things. It's like, well, it turns out maybe we should focus on just sort of playing good generic cards. This doesn't seem to be TNO heavy. So this might be a deck that's in the marketplace for Imperial Summons, plus the duo that straightens people after they take a political action. Like that might be an interaction I might be looking into. But it's an interesting build. We'll see sort of how the gold goes. But I mean, it looks good so far.
Yeah, we're not playing any TNO cards actually, and that's just because I'm playing the list as it was sent to me, and I guess Eric's going to a non-TNO legal tournament in a couple weeks here, so this is the sort of deck he's thinking about jamming, and he
In
wants
fact, I
to
think
test.
it's this weekend.
Yeah. So
It has to be. This week.
yeah.
Like so.
So this, so we're gonna play it as is. Like I could have made some changes and jammed some stuff in there, but then it wouldn't have been my deck, would it? So we'll play it this way. Like there's some stuff that I'm looking at, like against you, determined challenge. I really want to pull your 11 force guy into the battle, like maybe not. But with Shibata Sensei, maybe we can cycle all that stuff away. All right.
And maybe, I mean, it might be like an overwhelming pickup. My one big unit. We'll see.
All right. Let's give it a go.